In a quiet residential apartment in Bintan district, Saigon, while most of the city is asleep, a young marketer sits under the harsh glare of a desk lamp, staring intently at a video editing timeline. She's reviewing the analytics of her latest short-form video clip, tracking the trajectory of a line that tells a brutal story. The retention graph doesn't lie. It shows a massive instantaneous spike in the first single second, followed by a steep near vertical plunge. Within 5 seconds, almost the entire audience has scrolled away. She has spent hours scripting, recording, and editing the piece, believing it was high quality content. But the data reveals a painful reality. Her audience checked out before she even reached her core message. This is the relentless, unforgiving landscape of modern video content in 2026. In an era dominated by rapid scrolling and microscopic attention spans, the traditional rules of engagement have been completely rewritten. Many creators and brands fall into the trap of playing a pure numbers game, churning out volume while failing to analyze and improve the actual performance mechanic of their work. They mistakenly believe that a single magical post will somehow catch fire and go viral organically. The truth is, high-performing content marketing is a disciplined science of micro-adjustments. It requires a ruthless obsession with the first 5 seconds of a visual hook and an understanding of audience psychology and a willingness to cast aside personal creative bias in favor of raw performance data. The best marketers do not look at their content through the lens of ideology or perfection. They look at it through the lens of return on investment. They understand that to truly command attention in a crowded digital feed, we must master the delicate balance between high-end production aesthetics and rapid, punchy execution. If a brand can't capture the human brain's desire for immediate understanding within the span of a single breath, the rest of the message simply ceases to exist. I'm Neil Mackay, the founder of 7 Million Bikes Podcast and Saigon Podcast Studio, and this is Vietnam Content Marketing. In this episode, I sit down with Anii Hoang, marketing expert and host of the Aspiring CMO Podcast, to break down the mechanics of modern digital attention. We discuss the strategic realities of running a podcast as a junior professional to network with industry titans, how to properly interpret video retention graphs to iterate your creative process, and why businesses continue to throw money away by hiring marketing teams that lack the courage to test bold, unconventional ideas. This episode is sponsored by Saigon Podcast Studio, premium podcast recording space right in the heart of District 1 Saigon. Whether you're launching your first show, recording interviews, or creating professional audio and video content, Saigon Podcast Studio gives you the space, equipment, and support to sound and look your best. Come by for a free tour of the studio and see where your next great episode could be recorded. The link is in the show notes. So Anii, we start every episode with these rapid fire questions. Quick answers, don't think about it too much. A few words, one sentence. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. What's the best piece of content marketing advice you've ever been given?
Start a fake account, follow your ICP's audience. So not the ICP necessarily, but the people that they follow, and then just fill up your fake account's feed with those content.
What's the worst content marketing advice you've ever been given?
Act natural. What does natural mean? What does it mean? People don't want to see my natural state. They want to see my polished face.
This is one of my biggest pet peeves. I did a TV commercial once and they told me to make my hands more natural. And they kept saying, more natural? I don't know what natural hands are. I have no idea what that means. Next question. What is the metric you actually care about?
Well, it depends. If you're a content marketer, you care really about views, then the source of the views, and then email signups. But that's more Really depends on the campaign. But overall, as a marketer, you should really think about your ROI.
Next question, one piece of content marketing advice for someone starting from zero next week.
Decide what you want to sell. Maybe it's a product or a service. And then start a brand new either YouTube channel, Instagram account, TikTok account, and then just create consistently on that platform. You're going to fail a lot, but that failure will basically helps you to learn what works. And that's the best way to learn.
And last question, podcast. Great for content marketing. Why or why not?
It's great. And not just for content marketing. It's great to building relationships and partnerships. It goes beyond just content. And if it's done right, it can be not just content marketing, but a source of many different things. So I recommend having a podcast.
So you started your own podcast, the Aspiring CMO, to talk to senior CMOs. And you were really junior at the time. So that's very brave. Well done on that. How did you manage to get these people to come on a brand new podcast and be interviewed by someone who hasn't reached that level yet?
That's a great question. And it was very easy because I started networking before I started a podcast, and many people start a podcast to network. And there's a very different cycle to it because I have already seen these people in person, like yourself, and you're on my show. It was so much easier to just carry the conversation to a video chat or like a video recording. So yeah, started my networking first. And when people hear that, oh, you're a CMO, I want to learn from you. Actually, 90% of the people are pretty happy to hear that. So stroking people's ego is a great tactic.
And so starting your own podcast, what did it do for your own brand?
Employers were so much easier to hire me because they saw immediately what I was capable of making as a hobby level. So I did my podcast, obviously, out of my free time, using my free resources. And so it was easy to put myself forward that way. What it did for my brand, I think it started a brand for me. It's not just people started to know me for this podcast, which is, I don't know, it sounds silly to say, but I was very surprised to hear it. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is just my hobby, but you know me for this project, and it really means a lot. So it's consistency over time. And
it's not silly. I'm the same. I still get people say to me, oh, you're from the podcast, and I kind of forget about it as well. And then you talk to people, and a lot of people as well don't even consume the podcast. They see the short video clips, which is so cool. And then the coolest thing that ever happened to me was being recognized in For Walk by somebody who came up to me, and they were actually from Scotland on holiday in Vietnam, and they were like, you're Neil Mackay, right? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, I listened to your podcast. I listened to it before I came to Vietnam. It's been so helpful. I just wanted to come say hello.
That's so amazing.
That was hands down the coolest thing that's ever happened to me.
Exactly. Wow. Welcome. You see, like we just kind of do things in public and people take notes. They're not going to clap for you on the spot, but they know things. I know that people will watch. And people will sometimes remember too.
So why a podcast? Why did this channel really help your brand?
Podcasting is the easiest way to produce content because you are not the expert in that conversation, but you are the one hosting it. So whenever people want to learn something from an expert and you are the first one or one of the few ones who host it well, they will immediately recognize that expertise associated with your brand. So podcasting is a good entry point for people who don't want to be the solo creator, who don't want to always put themselves in front of the camera and things. So that's why podcasting is really, really helpful. Also, it's not a lot of planning. Like you just have to plan a few questions, but then the rest of the things will be from the guests.
So you've now interviewed dozens of CMOs on your podcast. What makes a good CMO stand out?
To me is how they handle pressure and how they handle different campaigns. So in my show, I often ask them about an example of a campaign they like to present or they remember. And some of them fail to answer. Some of them are really specific to answer those questions. And I think that really shows that I know that, anyone can get a CMO title. If I join a startup tomorrow and I'll be like, you know what, guys, I'm the only marketing person, call me the CMO, I'll be a CMO. But the purpose of the show is to explore what it takes to be a good one. And I have noticed that some marketers I have interviewed didn't have either the management background, or they couldn't really answer a very simple question, which is like your favorite campaign. How did you achieve it? Yeah.
So how did the podcast format help you be able to come to those conclusions?
I watch people's body language. When you are in a podcast, at the end of the day, it is just a conversation, and you can see how people are passionate about or not passionate about this topic. And granted, I also feel that some people are really lacking public speaking skills, so maybe they have a hard time expressing themselves, and they could be still like good marketers and stuff. But yeah, the way they answer, the way they structure their thoughts really helps me to realize what it takes.
And is there one thing that you see over and over again from the people who really get content marketing?
It's so simple. People who know content marketing are obsessed with what that piece of content is saying, looks like, and sounds like. And they have a natural instinct of looking at the psychology behind every single hook, what it takes to be viral, what formats it needs. And they're extremely relentless on trying. So the best influencers and content marketers, they put out hundreds of content a month. So they would post like 2 to 3 times a day, just because content is so much about like a numbers game, but also improving those numbers. And I made the mistake personally of just following a numbers game, but then not improving my process. So I think when I look at good content marketers and now they are influencers, they consistently improving every single piece of content they put out, whether it's funnier, shorter, punchier, more controversial. They have no bias towards what could work and what doesn't, so long it works.
Mm-hmm.
So and not a lot of people have that type of mindset, because if you have what it takes, you don't care about what people think about you.
They're not too stuck to what they've done in the past.
Correct. And they're also not stuck with the ideology of like what they think a good content should look like. When you're a paid media buyer, for example, it really shows, the number shows, let's say, like something that is a way low production, way faster edit, maybe badly done from a professional point of view, could convert higher. And at the end of the day, ROI matters the most. And depending on what industry, what product, what offer you have, those content will be different. And as a content marketer, your job is to have the speed and the creativity to churn out as many, as fast and as possible.
What I love about that is it's something that I've taught from the beginning, and we live every day here in the Saigon podcast studio and with 7 Million Bikes podcast. It's always just try and be 1% better every time. It's a tiny amount, but if you do that every single day, that's 365% better by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And we see this all the time. We're always trying to get better at everything we do, whether it's lighting, whether it's creating content. And if you just try to be that tiny bit better every time, it makes a massive difference.
Correct. Yes. And I also think from a content marketing perspective, though, or marketing perspective, not just you put out more and better, but then you take the feedback from the numbers you have given. So a good content marketer also look at the retention graph of a video. If I see that my video retention graph looks like this, well, it looks like people caught the attention from the first 1 second, but then they drop. So that means my content sucked. But like if my content graph looks like this, like more horizontal, which should be the goal, people stay to watch till the end. And that signals a good content. But most of our graphs looks like this. So it looks like a slope. And when you're doing these, like, let's do better 1% at a time, you have to really increase that watch time. And or if it's a static post, then it's like different metrics, right? But we are living in a video world, like we're making a video right now. So at the end of the day, how long can you make people watch that piece of content?
And what is the best tip to make people watch longer?
It has to be shorter. It has to be, the first 5 seconds has to be invested so much in like what it looks like, what's the title on top of my head today, what do I say? And yeah, like right now, just the production setup already catches attention because it looks so pretty, right? It's beauty. So things that are really easy for people to understand. Or if you are a sport brand, why do people use athletes in their videos, right? It's easier for the brain to understand, like, okay, if I see an athlete in my sport brand, people will have the association that my brand is associated with athletes because I sell sport brand, like sports clothes.
Talking about the visual is so important. And I try and say this to people because there's some people wonder why the short videos or the long videos on YouTube aren't doing very well. And we produce them, and I look at them and I go in my head because I don't really want to tell them because I know it's not going to change much. But you're using a condenser microphone for one, which is not good quality, so the sound isn't great. But mostly you're using like a 720p webcam camera, and your guest is as well. And you're laughing because you see it on YouTube.
I did the same thing.
But most people these days are now watching YouTube on their TV. So you blow up to a big 50-inch. I saw a TV in the shop the other day, 100-inch TV. So somebody's watching your YouTube content on a 100-inch TV. The content quality is awful. And this is what we pride ourselves on here. And we're really excited at Saigon Podcast Studio is the aesthetic, the lighting, the quality of the video. Instantly, you see that in a short video or a long video. And you can see right away that the quality is much better. And this is what matters now on YouTube, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think part of it is obviously the production quality because, I mean, podcasting in 2020 is not the same as podcasting in 2026. Like this industry has changed a lot. And the expectation of people to watch a podcast or listen to a podcast, or even like just stop and just listen to the first second, like it has to be with the production. So I will scroll past something that is like just doesn't catch my beauty attention, right?
Yep.
But a production like this really helps. But the next step is really like, what does the person say? What are the triggering words and questions that make a short form video successful?
So from all these conversations on your podcast, from all your experience, what do businesses need to get right with content marketing before they even start?
Well, it's marketing at the end of the day is selling something. And if you have nothing to sell, it's hard to do marketing. So as a business, you already have to have something working for you in order to market it better. So it's hard to also market something that everyone else provides. So you have to invest in your product or your service more. Let's say water, right? Like I'm letting water companies. We need water and we have to differentiate ourselves. So if you, as a business owner, you don't have that mindset, how you are differentiating yourself from your competition, the marketer will have a very, very hard time to follow your vision because you don't have a vision.
It reminds me of one of the clients we work with do pharmaceutical marketing. And one of the things that I've heard them say many times, and I love it, is the difference between Pepsi and Coca-Cola is marketing. Because at the end of the day, they're both sugary, brown, fizzy water. It's just which one has different marketing makes you choose which one you drink.
Exactly. Correct. And Coca-Cola really won when they just like, okay, we're going to own Santa Claus. So see, like even conventional brands had invested in like their, how to say, today's spokesperson, avatar, or content creator, right? Every brand has a face or multiple faces to be safe, but the best ones only have one. And the best ones only have one that people love. So I think that's a good example. But you can see that between Pepsi and Coca-Cola, the differentiation is there too, because they're always coming up with different flavors and different like features. So let's say 0 calorie or 0 something, or like they add a little bit of flavor in there. And that has to come from the product marketer or product developer or something. And then the marketer can sell it.
Now, when it comes to content marketing, where do you see businesses throwing money away?
Hiring the wrong people. Obviously, like I think that says the number one. One of the questions was like, what sets apart a good content marketer in my mind, right? And if you hire someone who never had a content marketing experience, or someone who doesn't have the guts to be controversial be to try things out. I think that's the biggest money because marketing takes a long time. Hiring the wrong people will really like slow your budget and slow everything.
You mentioned the word they're controversial. Where do you draw the line between being controversial and grabbing views, between being controversial and losing customers?
Yeah, that's where a good CMO comes in. That's why you need a good leader on the top to say like, okay, this is fun, but let's draw the line. So for example, Pride Month is this month, right? And I'm sure that decades ago, this was like a no-no. But nowadays, if you want to be an inclusive and fun brand, you have to do something for Pride Month. And I think it has to be some sort of timeline to it. Like some things work better in 2020, some things that work better in 2026. And of course, let's just assume that we all know that, bad things like nudity and like porn and stuff, like we don't want to be associated with it in general. But outside of all these big outliers, you need to have a leader who can draw the line between this.
And I think of an example from my team because I say lots of things on my podcast about Vietnam, Discover Vietnam, and we take those clips and we post them, and some of them go viral and some of them do really well. And one recently that did really well was I said that basically Vietnamese women are badass. Vietnamese women are amazing, don't mess with them. And then I kind of veered into the territory of Vietnamese men are lazy. When you go out into a coffee shop in the morning, you're laughing because you see 50 Vietnamese men, no females. You see them on the construction sites and they're doing everything and all of this stuff, right? And so it went really well. And the comments were largely very supportive. Yep, you got that right. Lots of Vietnamese women commenting. But there was some people that were like, no, you're full of shit. That's not true. Mostly from Vietnamese men, we're not lazy, blah, blah, blah. And I had to have a discussion with the team and say, be careful in the future that we're not too controversial because I don't want to get in trouble because at the end of the day, it's my face that's on this. It's me. Also, what I say is in an hour-long interview. And you're taking a clip that it might be 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. And also, you see the metrics. On average, people are watching for 3 seconds or 5 seconds, then they're jumping to the comments. So people are making a comment on something I've said for 5 seconds out of a 1 hour clip. So just be careful what you choose for clips because I don't want to get in trouble. And they were amazing. They were like, we know what you can and can't get in trouble with.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. We won't make you say anything or we won't promote anything that's too controversial.
Correct. Yes. I mean, this happens with virality. Like, I think it's like a pros and cons of virality, right? Like, not first and foremost, not every piece of content goes viral. People want to be viral, but then they want the virality without the consequences. And that's just, it's like wanting a unicorn who also, I don't know, poops muffins. I don't know, like, doesn't exist.
How often has somebody come to you and said, we want content that goes viral?
Not often, but no? I think I'm getting to that point now. And again, it just has to draw boundaries. Or if you want to get viral, then, I have to post so much to make it happen.
Some people think they just post one piece of content and it'll go
most
viral.
People do. Most people say like, you hire a magic person who will magically do a viral content for you. Yeah. And that's just an expectation where everyone fails.
I've read it and I've experienced it myself, and it's you could post 100 pieces of content and you do not know which one will go viral, but Correct. One of them will blow up. And suddenly, I mean, I've had it where I've literally produced a piece of content with my wife that's in it, and I've said to her, like, don't worry about it, nobody watches these things, and then it blows up and it's like 160,000 views later. She's like, you told me nobody was going to see this. Like, I didn't think anybody would because I had no idea. And I've worked for a major corporation here in Vietnam, and I've heard it time and time again where they say, oh, we're going to create some viral content. And you're like, no, you don't create viral content. It's not a thing. And I don't know if that's changed because that was many years ago. Are you still seeing that, or you're not seeing that so much now in Vietnam?
I see that there's a formula to make something potentially viral, but it's not guaranteed. Mm-hmm. Marketing and anything in life is just not guaranteed.
So you're now on the agency side, Digital Web Services, DWS. Has that changed how you view content marketing?
Yes. Being in DWS has been a great journey. How I view content marketing, it has to be very formulated. I've been in the industry for a couple of years now, and I just see that some formats, some titles, some avatars, just do better. And my job is really to take myself out of any type of judgment or bias I have towards it, and I just like look at the trend, the data. And that really changed my perspective. And it's also changed from a content marketing perspective to just not be afraid to fail, because every single piece of content I put out could have, in my industry, if I get like 10,000 views, that's amazing, right? But for some industries, if I get 10K, that's like middle or not even considerate. So you have to really like try hard and be as concise as possible.
And if you were to start your podcast again today, what's the biggest thing you learned?
If I had to start my podcast today, I would come to Anii Hoang's Saigon podcast studio and record day maybe 1 or 5 if I don't know. It's really intimidating to see all the lights at first. But Neil, you are so nice. So I would definitely come to a place like this with someone like you. Of course, I wouldn't do this by myself. It's so hard to get into a production studio when you haven't even produced anything yourself. So I would definitely do in person, planned, and in person planned. That's all. That's all I would do. But however, it limits the number of guests I can have.
That was not a pre-planned answer. I did not ask you to say that. So thank you very much. That is very kind, and I do appreciate that.
I love it. But also, number one tip for podcasting nowadays is to have a concept. What I've done wrong, and hundreds of podcasts, not just myself, done wrong. It's just, you just get on a Zoom call or you just get on some video recording software and you record, right? But the best podcasts I've seen, they have a concept. They would sit on a beanbag. They would have a topic. They would have something special that people want to come back to. So Joe Rogan has his own like classic setup with the Rode mics and his background. Sure, I think that was a good entry. But now if I want to start over, I would be in a very different setting. I would somehow link it to my personality. What do I like? I like dancing. I like traveling. So somehow I would have those elements, whether if it's like a different destination every time or I'm eating food. I think there's like a new show where people are having a conversation, but they're eating food, like not just any food, but the last meal on earth that they would eat. Like it's such a different concept, right? So you want to have something that sets your set, like your physical creative set apart.
Love it. Anii, thank you so much. This has been amazing. And thank you for joining me on Vietnam Content Marketing.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, subscribe everyone.
Vietnam Content Marketing is produced by 7 Million Bikes Podcast and recorded in the Saigon Podcast Studio. This episode is hosted by me, Neil Mackay, with production, editing, and support from the 7 Million Bikes Podcast team, Tae, Hoon, Ling, and Chi. Thanks for listening. Follow Vietnam Content Marketing wherever you get your podcasts and visit 7 Million Bikes Podcast to learn more about the team behind the show.